I love a movie where every time you watch it, you learn something new. Moonlight never disappoints. Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Moonlight. Now this is a Barry Jenkins film and it's from 2016. Now before I get into what I thought when I first initially seen this film back in 2016 versus what I got from it watching it yesterday, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm gonna give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're gonna come back and discuss all things Chiron, little and black. That baby never stood a chance. Like, let people just be who they are. Leave people alone.
Go back.
Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this movie. But before we jump directly into that, I have to give a shout out to the person who paid for and requested this movie. So if you happen to get your whole life, it's not because of me, it's because of this person right here. Thank you so much for supporting me and supporting my content. Now, getting into the film, this movie was directed and the story was also by Barry Jenkins and Tarell Alvin. Oh my goodness. This was a showstopper of a film at that time, and it was so today. Now, I can remember this movie being really divisive when it came out to certain people with certain backgrounds and upbringings. And the thought was, you know, who wants to see this? Who wants to see the public yet again emasculate black men depicting these, you know, same-sex relationships? This should not be pushed into the forefront. This film couldn't be further from that. This was the first and maybe the only time that I myself had seen a conflicted or gay relationship of any sort depicted in the way that it was. And I remember feeling, you know, a little bit uncomfortable. I remember feeling that this was beautiful. This movie gave me feelings that I had never had before, and that's always a good experience. It was very black, it was very informative, it felt natural, it felt genuine, it felt like you were being led into something so private and so intimate. And that's something that Barry Jenkins does successfully with a lot of his films that you've seen. And it did not hurt that the cinematographer here was also the same guy who did the cinematography for If Beale Street Could Talk, James Lacton. Now, it doesn't capture every single scene as, you know, If Beale Street Could Talk. I feel like that's a whole masterpiece. But here we get such sweet cinematography and a lot of moments that really make you identify with our main character as he progresses from little to Chiron to black. Now, in the first part, we get into Little, who already at a very young age is in Miami streets. He's running, he's alone, he's bullied, because even at that tender young age, he is presumed as soft, he's gay, he's very afraid, he's quiet, he's withdrawn. But Juan, a local Miami drug dealer, takes him underneath his wing. Now, Juan here, aka Blue, is portrayed here by Mahershala Ali. He did a really good job in this film. The entire cast did an amazing job. I love when we see all of the dark, deep complexions against the Miami lighting. They do a very good job of highlighting hues. Everything just looks so intensified, and that dark skin looks beautiful. But he did win an Oscar for his portrayal here, and honestly, I really didn't understand why. Not that he underperformed here. He was really great here, but I've seen him do, you know, just really amazing in other roles, and I just didn't think, you know, his best was here. But he is so welcoming and recognizes something in Little right away. Now, I had a completely different perspective watching this recently than I had watching it back then. We do have Blue here. He's not, that really tough iron fist around the neighborhood, but he is just not one of those random drug dealers. He is, the main one. He's bringing the product in. He has, control over the streets. So what made him, out of all people, take a liking immediately to this young boy that he didn't know? Now, at first, I felt like, he heard the taunts and, oh, he's gay, he's soft, let's attack him, and he's hiding out. It wasn't until watching it recently that I felt like, oh, this entire time, he saw himself in Little. So many moments we have of connection with him to Little and him displaying, not only seeing himself in him, but that he was this kid and he is hiding himself. He talks to him, he feeds him, he recognizes right away that he needs someone, and so does his girlfriend here, portrayed by Janelle Monáe. So much so that he spends the night in their home. Juan is going out of his way to get this young man to open up, to speak, to let him know that you're not alone. And not only are you not going to be alone today, but I'm going to continue to be here for you. Now, before, I just felt like, oh, he's so nice. He's such a nice drug dealer. Like, he's, it was like, no. I was like this as a young boy. I myself was conflicted once upon a time with my sexuality, and I see myself in him. I didn't have anyone at my time, so I'm gonna make sure that he has someone now. Now, Chiron's mother here is portrayed by Naomie Harris, and she did a really good job in this role, child. She was projecting all the crackhead energy, okay? But not at first. Initially, we meet her. She is a struggling single mother. She looks to be a nurse. She is very much so trying to make ends meet, and she is doing the best that she can. But it requires Chiron to be at home alone often, be very self-sufficient, take care of himself, be really independent. But it's not so welcoming to a child struggling at a young age, trying to discover himself as a young boy, being taunted by other boys for what's perceived as being soft, gay, and wrong. He has nobody in his corner and nobody to talk to at this moment but Blue. Now, another thing that I didn't really pay attention to before is when we initially meet little Kevin. Now, Kevin is also the same age as Little, and he is apparently going through his own similar situation, but unlike Little, at a very young age, he has already recognized that there is a need to hide that. We continue to hear the word soft, and it instantly makes Little an outsider, and Kevin recognizes that right away. I love the word soft because it creates that fine line, even in the youngest boy's mind, of what's presumed to be feminine, soft, or masculine. It's learned behavior we all fall victim to because of our upbringing. Boys don't get to be soft because softness should be a female quality. Chiron is tormented and picked on from a very early age, and I thought that it was amazing that even at that young age, Kevin knew that he had to conform, that perception is everything. Don't let anybody think that you're not hard out here. Let them think that you're soft. You can't be soft here. We can't afford to be that. If I show weakness, if I show that I have any other ambitions than to be what's considered normal, then I'm gonna become a Chiron, and I can't be that. And you kind of see him even at that moment try to help him along as what should be, you need to be this way. Show them that so you don't become a target. God, it's just, it's very emotional, the type of weight that could be on a young man at that early age just for trying to be and do something that comes naturally to him. Now we have a really brief but beautiful moment between Juan and Chiron. Juan has been there continuously. It did not stop at that moment of him saving him, from the torment in that crack house. He has been a presence in his life. Chiron does not have a father, and he has a mother who is really going astray. But I love that moment when we have them on the beach, and he pretty much tells him, I am originally from Cuba. He teaches him how to swim, and they have that little brief conversation of, an old woman recognizing something in him in Cuba and, running around chasing that blue light, and I'm gonna call you Blue. And he says, repeatedly, I was just like you. I was running around, I was loud. In a sense, it felt like, I was displaying, different different qualities about myself, maybe being a little flamboyant, maybe showing a little just being a curious boy, and I'm not knowing any better. These are my traits, this is who I am. But even at that young age, I knew that it was wrong. And we get into him missing his mother, and basically him coming over to Miami and reinventing himself in the same way that we see Chiron reinvent himself in another place later. Blue recognized that he and Chiron were one and the same, but he didn't want Chiron at that moment to make the mistake of having someone make him feel inadequate about who he wanted to be as a person and as a man, regardless of his sexuality. You have to decide for yourself who you're going to be, because at that time, I decided that I wouldn't, and I became someone else once I got here. Because I was made to believe that me being the way that I was wrong, and I don't want you to turn out that way. I thought it was also really prolific that he had, it's all about his girl and his relationship with Teresa, but we not once seeing them actually touch each other or embrace or show any ounce of affection towards each other as far as a relationship. It was almost just like they were coexisting in the same home. I felt like Teresa was a cover and Blue just couldn't act out on his sexual ambition. Now, at that moment, we have things really change around for Chiron. We do still have that element of boys being boys and him discovering himself as a young man, as well as Kevin, but Kevin is fitting in and conforming just fine. Now, we do have that strong relationship with Blue, but Blue does sell drugs, and his mother is now on drugs to the point that she's really not present. Things are coming up missing in the house. She is beginning to act out and lose grip on what little motherhood that she was providing to Chiron. And on the opposite foot, he does have Blue there, but it's still feeling like, how are you going to help me when you are supplying my mother with the same drugs that are taking her under? And I love that moment also because he asked him, what is an F word? Like, what is that? What does that mean? Because we have several people calling him that. And I love his response. It's like, that's a term used to, belittle someone who is gay. But just because you're gay doesn't make you this. You don't have to be what they call you. You don't have to accept anything. Being gay or being different doesn't give anyone the right to belittle you as a person. And he loves that, but he's very conflicted in the sense of, you are providing my mother with the drug that has completely changed her. You see her, she is out living her best goddamn life. And she is also conflicted at the fact that we have Juan kind of, like wagging the finger, like, what are you doing out here? It's like, you can't place judgment on me. You are selling this to me. I'm being provided these drugs through you. And who are you to come in and just step in to take care of my son? Are you going to take care of my son? Are you going to, tell him why the boys are picking on him? And that's really the first moment where we have her acknowledge that her son is different. We don't really have her say much. We just see her grow and become distant, where she was never really close and had a grip on her son or really felt really caring and concerned in the first place. But you see, instead of really embracing it as, I need to lead my son the right way, let him know that, there's nothing wrong with the way he is, she sees it as something that is a burden to her. How dare he be this? I'm already, poor, we're in poverty, I'm struggling, I'm trying to work, I'm trying to keep an eye on you, I'm trying to do a million things, and I'm also getting wrapped up in drugs. You add another brick on my back with being conflicted with your sexuality, wanting to be gay, having a soft voice, displaying maybe feminine or, soft qualities. It's just all too much. We have that really beautiful scene of her yelling at him, and it's mute, but you have that the film does a really good job playing with lighting, even though the setting, and I was kind of taken back when I read up on the film and it said it was supposed to be set kind of, late 80s, early 90s, and the, that big boom of crack. And I was like, it felt very contemporary. It looked very contemporary at most times. So you wouldn't identify this as, throwback 80s times right away looking at it. But you just have her yelling, and she has so much aggression and disappointment on her face. It just felt like, damn, if I am getting this from all sides, if I'm a young boy, I'm trying to discover who I am and why I may even like some of the things that I like, I'm already being judged and tormented by my peers, and now I get the same thing from my mother. He never stood a chance. Now, once we have him transform from little to a teen Chiron, we see that he is very much so the same. We have Ashton Sanders here. This is my favorite role from him. I feel like this is the most, toned down and reserved that we've seen him. His energy works really, really well in some places, and in others, it's just like, damn, we get the same thing from him over and over. But it works so well here for the type of character that Chiron was meant to be. We see that he's not so far removed from where he was as little. He's still being picked on. He is still not accepted. His mother has descended even further into drugs all these years later. She has been selling herself. She is not taking care of her son. She even, belittles him, uses him for his money. She is not a good mother. We also found out that the one person who was truly there for him has now passed away. We don't know what happened to Blue exactly. We just, assume that he was out there in the streets and he got stretched out. But he is essentially alone now. We do have the girlfriend, Teresa, who is very much so there for him. She provides him with shelter as they did before, with a little money. But it does not undercut the things that he is not being provided in his own home by his own mother. He is still very much alone and being picked on by a school bully who is a shooter. Bop, 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 bop. In the making. Just kids you just be want to punch in the face that are just assholes to no end for no reason other than Chiron is different. He's always been different. I'm always going to go for the lowest common denominator, the only easy target here. I'm going to pick on that one kid who needs to be picked on by me because I was brought up by some person who told me that if anybody was like Chiron and they display different qualities, then they're soft, they're gay, they're wrong. I need to shut that shit down and make his life a living hell. Such a little asshole. Somebody find a little actor and punch him in the face. Well, not punch him in the face. I do actually love his character. Every single character here is very realistic. They're shown in a realistic light. Nothing is sugar-coated. We do have many people exactly like that bully, exactly like Chiron's mother, exactly like Teresa, exactly like Kevin. These are real people. The way that bully is very much so learned behavior. Now, Kevin, on the other hand, who is portrayed here by Jharrel Jerome, he is one of my favorite young up-and-coming actors. He does an immaculate job. Anytime he's on the screen, he's damn near at the status of, if you see him on the roster, this is about to be a good movie. And it remains so here. Kevin is very much so conformed. He is still, in that midway of being popular and not being tormented, not being anywhere near where Chiron is. But unlike everybody else, he still considers him a friend. He calls him black. He is not at all reserved. He is so much out in the open. He is always bragging about, his sexual escapades, him being with a girl. He is very braggadocious, always going out of his way to be extremely loud and hypersexual to let everybody moving know I am anything but like Chiron. Not only am I not that, I'm outside, I'm bad bitches. I'm everything that a normal teenage boy should be at this moment. I'm hypersexual. I'm in anything moving. I'm good in the hood with the homies. I have successfully, all the way up to my young teen years, concealed my real feelings for who I ever thought I maybe wanted to be, just so I could survive. If I wasn't Kevin, I would be a Chiron. And we see throughout the entire film what it means to be Chiron, and it's truly a sad and sunken place. Now, Chiron cannot find any solace anywhere in this film. I do have Teresa, but Juan no longer is there, and he doesn't want to feel like a burden. I do have my mother, but half the time she doesn't want me there. That's if she remembers, and if she's not high, then she is an angry, hungry addict. But he does have that special place with his special moments that he has with whoever he felt that was close to him in his life, and that is the beach that Juan took him to. So much so that when he does have a wet dream, he really doesn't know what to think of it. We have Kevin there, and he's having sex with a girl, but he wakes up and it's a wet dream. And it's very much that sense of, I would like to have a moment like that with Kevin or with someone else, but with who? I'm not even free to express feelings or thoughts that I have about myself, or even confide and anyone about my dreams and my feelings I have for the same sex. I have nobody to turn to. And even if I did, I do have my one and only friend Kevin, but Kevin is nothing like me. That is until we get to the beach. Now, honey, this scene on the beach, the scene heard around the world, this was such a beautifully directed cinematography-esque situation on this beach. We have him try to find a moment of peace, and Kevin just so happens to be there. Now, at this point, in my opinion, Kevin is a walking, talking stereotype of what he feels like he needs to, let the world see so his true feelings aren't shown. But we do see throughout the film, he makes it a point to, keep that tight-knit friendship with him. He gives him that nickname of Black. He's always nice to him, always conscious, always, kind of wants to be in his presence and in his realm to know what he's thinking. So he really takes heed to that opportunity to talk to him alone on that beach. This is the first moment, this real pure moment that we have for them to just be vulnerable with each other. And they have this really deep conversation of pretty much just, being scared and, we're growing up, we're becoming, young men to be older men, and just some of the feelings that I have and some things I want to do, they don't feel natural in every sense of the word. And everybody around me is telling me that they are wrong, and he admits to crying. And I love it in contrast with Kevin, who, pretty much share some of those same sentiments, but this is our first moment really getting into Kevin not being able to verbally say things out of his mouth. Now, Chiron may be a lot of things, but he never really hid himself. He has been really reserved, really quiet, because he knows better. Like, I'm already being tormented enough, but he never tried to be anything other than what he was. Kevin, on the other hand, has been hiding from the very beginning. Hey, Black, let's smoke a blunt, and we fucking this and da-da-da-da-da. Like, I have to be these things. But in this moment with him, I recognize that he has some of those same tendencies that I do, that we both have from a very young age, and we might not get this moment again. So when we have them talking and you have them go for the kiss, it's like, it's like, oh God. And I love it because we do have a lot of things perceived as, oh Lord, they trying to emasculate these men. Why do we need this here? Why don't we need this here? We needed this here more than anything. This was my first time seeing affection displayed between two Black men, especially at the age that they are. The actors really handled and embodied the role really well, to where it didn't feel like they were being put on display or emasculated or exploited. It felt like a beautiful moment. It was shot really well. You felt really vulnerable with them. And it's amazing because you really don't see anything at all. We know what's going on. We know that he is helping him reach his peak, something that he's never experienced, this new sensation, but we don't see anything. We just see the sand. We, see the moonlight. We hear the ocean. It is so simple. It's so beautiful. And it's just like, oh my God, you are, really shy about it, but you're happy at the same time for Chiron that he's finally having a moment to display some feelings that he's had, and it's not even on his own accord, which leaves him confused. And you have Kevin being more so the aggressor, being more affectionate, and it's just so surprising. All these years I felt like, you were just my friend who ran around, maybe calling me Black. I never knew that you had any of the same interests that I did, let alone wanted to explore something in any sexual form with me. Now we have them, in the end, he's so conflicted that he apologizes. Like, I'm sorry. It's just like, you didn't do anything wrong. I wanted to do this and experience this just as much as you did, but I knew, you being you wouldn't act on it. But I know that this is, our one moment that we might not get again. And Chiron is so quiet and still reserved, and they kind of give a nod and a wink, like, we shared a moment. It's nothing that we can shout from the rooftops, though. It's just so great to now know that I'm not alone. I have someone who shares the same sentiments that I do. I just had, my first sexual at all, if any, experience with the same sex, and I enjoyed it. Like, he's so happy in that moment. There's a sense of calmness and peace that has come over him that even if this doesn't progress into something amazing, I have someone that I shared something with and who I may be able to talk to about who I am, and maybe I can possibly be who I am beyond these moments, beyond this high school. I can just be Chiron. And they snatched that shit away as soon as we get to the goddamn school with a game of get down, lay down, stay down, some bullshit. Punch the actor in the face. Now we have this blicky ass little dude. Just take that away because he goes at Kevin, and it just kind of felt like he felt that moment to pick and really take away the last piece of solace that Chiron had. He had a vendetta against him and was really, really aggressive for no damn reason. But he proceeds to say, hey, we don't play this game anymore. If I point a dude out, you gotta knock him out. Just like, cool, I'm not gonna say, what am I gonna say? No, as Kevin, I'm Kevin. I have an image to uphold. And at any time that I'm not that, they may recognize that I'm pretending to be something that I'm not, and I'm gonna become Chiron. And that's the last thing he ever wanted to do. So we have the fight commenced and him knocking Chiron out, and Chiron is absolutely hurt. We just shared a moment yesterday. I was ready to come here and, just talk to you as a friend and as a person. Like, I thought I had something finally with someone outside of myself. I thought I had a moment to blossom. And not only do you knock it right out of me, but I'm not going to stay down. You want to play this game and be something that you're not and, use me for that? Go ahead, knock me out. Be that person. But not only does he knock him out, a group of kids proceed to jump him. And this is just the last straw for Chiron. And we see him transform into black. And I love how we have everybody around him. So so shocked. Like, we have, the principal called the boys in here. And this just is like, no. Why do I have to be a certain way at this moment? Why am I in the wrong for going icing? I love the moments where we have them ice in their face and the water dripping. It's really beautiful. But it's just like, no, I am broken. Not only am I broken at this moment, but I have been broken in the system, in the school, tormented by the kids, in the neighborhood, continuously to no fault. And nobody really did anything. So don't try to bring this moment to me and tell me I'm not being a man if I don't snitch and have everybody in this office. Nobody has been here for me ever. Besides Juan, and he's gone. I'm out here alone. If y'all want it, y'all about to fucking get it. Not only am I about to knock him the fuck out, he is, arrested and all this other stuff, but he completely transforms himself. Not only is he not Chiron anymore a little, but I'm gonna become black. Nobody at any given time will be able to ever do this to me again. Now, when we transition into them moving to Atlanta to get away from this situation, and he has not been to Miami since, and he's a grown man now, and we are introduced to Trevante Rhodes. Honey, I had a whole, that meltdown you get as a woman when you have the best man scene and you have Morris Chestnut Lance walk his chocolate self into the party with the autographs and it was all of that and then some. I had never seen him prior to this movie, and I was like, who is that? Who is that? So gorgeous, so beautiful, just Lord, he have to look like that. But we see that he has completely transformed and he has become baby Juan, baby blue. He has became the exact same way down to the look, the masculinity, the car, the do-rag, the grill. He has become what was perceived as, nobody ever picked on Juan. Juan was that dude. Nobody ever crossed him. Nobody made him feel inferior for who he was or what he wanted to be. And y'all crushed me as a young man before I could even realize who I wanted to become. Nobody's gonna do that shit to me. I'm in the trap. I'm slanging and banging. I'm in control. I'm in Atlanta. I'm a brand new person. Just as Juan came from Cuba to Miami and became a new person. It was a whole ass cycle. I did not notice that at all before. We have him looking real good with the fronts in, like, oh gosh, got the screw, got the bang in the trunk. He is that dude, that trap dude. He has an image to uphold. He is very much in control. We also have his mom here who, you know, was struggling with addiction for what looks to be a very long time. She has now gotten clean. She's in a rehab facility, and she is now seeking not only forgiveness, but she wants her son to change. You still out here banging. You still out here in these streets. That only leads one way. Like, look what happened to Juan. I know I messed up. I know that you may not love me anymore, but I want you to know that I love you. She wants so badly now, like desperation, for him to make a different choice and for her to be forgiving. But he is so removed and so, you know, blocked from who he was. He like barely can allow himself a moment to cry sitting at that table with his mother. You know, he's sure to really wipe that tear away. It's like, who I'm supposed to listen to you, Ma? I'm supposed to listen to you now after everything. And you see that she acknowledges all her faults and where she wasn't really, you know, even there for his son when he needed her the most, just concerning his sexuality and his preferences, but just there for me as a kid and as a child in general. You are horrible. But we have him, you know, try to start making different choices at that moment, because we do have one, you know, I felt this way about my mother. I hated my mom too, but I miss her like hell now. And you see that he is open to forgiveness, but it's a lot to be said that now you want me to act different and make different choices and give you forgiveness and give you options when you never gave me that choice as a kid. We also see that even though he is very much in control and he's different, he's still very much alone. Besides, you know, the little trap dudes on the street and the visit to his mother, we see him living a very lonely life. He traps and he like pretty much goes to bed. We don't see anybody on his arm or in his bed, male or female. But at that moment, we just really don't know what to think. Now, he has been able to keep up this persona and this facade for years, and it's been working for him. It is a safe situation, and it's really sad that he felt safe, you know, being in the trap and pretty much having his livelihood in jeopardy, versus when he was trying to be himself. He was never safe in those moments. But we have a brick in the wall, you know, just pushed out as to who Chiron really is when he gets a call from a familiar person, and it's Kevin. Kevin is completely different himself. He has been led astray himself. He went down the wrong path, got caught up. He's been to jail, at which now, not only is he let out and he's a cook, but he is now, you know, the father to a son, and he would love nothing more than for Chiron to come down and he cook for him. First of all, they haven't seen each other in so long that they barely recognize each other, but you see how passionate Kevin is on the opposite end of the phone. You know, if you're ever out, come see me. He's calling, he's going out of his way to get his number and reach out. But when he's actually there, he makes it a point to go, you know, hey, what you doing here? What brought you this way? Like, why are you here? Kevin is still very much so hiding. He never stopped hiding, never stopped putting on from the moment that they were young and they were playing football. Now, I did enjoy at that moment that he took time to apologize for the way that it went down. But he is so shocked at the fact that this is Chiron. Now, Chiron is very much so beautiful, but he's black now. He's, you know, in the trap. He has in fronts. He's, you know, not what I thought he would be. He has so much potential. He was so deep. I thought that he would end up another way, not like every other dude in these streets. He ended up, you know, kind of going down the same rough path that I did, and that only leads to jail. This is not you, Chiron. Now, what I didn't like at that moment was, you know, Kevin really throwing it in his face and that was just Kevin the entire film. Like, you pretending for me, black? You trying to be something you not? You hiding? Like, you trying to... Kevin was the one pretending the entire time. But now that Chiron is that, it's like, oh, no, you can't be that. Why not? When I was trying to be myself, at which you had a hand in it, y'all knocked me down. Y'all knocked it out of me. So now that I figured out who I need to be to survive out here, you don't get to come, you know, years later and, you know, try to call me out on my shit and about me pretending. Kevin, you have been pretending for so long that you lost who you were. Not only did you go to jail, but you have a baby with a female. You're still doing that. And you know that, you see that they can't really exchange in a way that they want to. Like, they're still, you know, pounding it up, when you know deep down that there's enough passion there for them to embrace, you know, kiss. But they're still like, no, we're first of all, we're different people now. but we're still not in a place of acceptability for us to be that to each other in a public space. That's never been okay for us, and it's damn sure not okay right now. So what we can do, we can talk and we can hint at certain things, you know, hey, who you fucking now? Who you like? Do you have a boyfriend? If you're like, which route did you go? Oh, that's a picture of your kid and your baby mama. Are you still with her? Like, what decisions did you make for yourself? Because it damn sure wasn't on either part to be open and be gay and be with one another or any other, you know, person who enjoyed the same sex. And especially now that I'm here and you want me to hang out, eat your food and drink, why did you call me here? Why did you want me here? I get here and, you know, you're talking about my fronts and me putting on a show and this isn't me. Then why do you want me here? Because from my standpoint, you're still putting on a show yourself. But Kevin not being able to be verbal about his feelings for him, even at this very moment, years later. I can't say that, I can't voice that, but what I can do is put my foot in this meal and cook you some good food. I can put my love in this food and I can say how I feel for you through the song and this jukebox. That's all I have. But via the food and via the song, long lost friend, long lost love, I missed you, I've been thinking about you. That's all that Kevin could muster up for him. So when we're getting into the night ending and they've been drinking, you slowly have them kind of let their guards down a little bit, but not so much so to really be their true selves. They're still talking, still, you know, catching up. And you see that the roles have very much so switched. Kevin is not, you know, that young dude anymore with the car dropping him off. Now he is, I'm dropping you off to your place. And I thought that it was so sweet and so sentimental that out of all the places that Kevin could have linked up or lived, he is living by that beach that they had their special moment at way before years ago. I was like, oh. Now, when we get into the end and them getting into that apartment, like, you could have just freaking fell out. It's so emotional. Now that they're alone, Kevin can be a little bit more vulnerable about, you know, how he chose to live his life. I don't have everything I wanted, but I'm no longer in jail. And I have a son that's depending on me. I can, you know, maintain a co-parenting relationship, and I'm happy for the small things. This is the first time in my life that I don't have to pretend to be something that I'm not or feel like that I have to impress other people. I am truly myself. And when he shares that about himself and have, you know, he goes, you know, hey, you know, like that's some real shit. That opens up the window for Black to be vulnerable in this moment. Child, when he verbally says like, you're the only one, the only man who's ever touched me, and pretty much says, you know, you're the only person who's ever touched me, period. For him to feel so inadequate that nobody allowed him to be who he truly wanted to be, I can't even explore my feelings for a man. I can't even do that. I've never been allowed to do that. From a very young age, I've been told that that was wrong and I was soft. So now that I have switched up and I've become a brand new fine ass man, I still can't explore that, but that doesn't mean that I want to hide and go explore that and try to be with a woman, because I know that that's not where my heart is. And since I can't have the latter, I don't want to be with either. I have not been with anybody prior to us having that embrace on the beach. Nobody's touched me. That is some sad stuff. That is truly sad and so disheartening. And we have them in, you know, with that embrace and him recognizing Chiron's soul. Like, that's, you know, deep, but that's so hurtful that you felt so ashamed that you couldn't explore certain feelings that you decided just not to explore them at all. Like, it was low-key, like, virginal and vulnerability, and just it was just so many emotions at that moment that he couldn't do anything but just, you know, lay on his shoulder, not too far from where he laid on his shoulder to begin with, where they had their first initial embrace. But to be so sad and so sunken of a person to, you know, not even feel free to explore who you want to be, so you just isolate yourself and just be alone, that is some sad shit. Well, you guys, that was my review for Moonlight. I hope you enjoyed it. This was a whole emotional roller coaster. I went through so many different emotions with this film. It was a nice rewatch, and it was really great to see things that I had long never noticed before and really pay attention to what I felt like the story was about. Please drop down and tell me if you got some of those same sentiments. Have you ever seen the film? Will you see it? Will you go revisit it? Drop down and get those comments going. I appreciate you guys for watching this video. I see you guys next time. Bye.